My golden child sister tried to steal my wedding venue. My parents took her side until the wedding day. I'm Zoe, 29F, engaged to Mark, 31M, and for the last 3 years, we've had one big bright date on the calendar, our wedding at a small Red Rock chapel outside Sedona, Arizona. It's the kind of place people book for years and then forget. They booked, until a reminder email arrives and they scream in the produce aisle. It was my dream, and we waited for it the way you wait for spring in February, counting the days like beads. Then my younger sister, Harper, 26F, decided my dream belonged to her. Harper has always been the event. If I got good news, she needed better news within 24 hours, or the house developed a weather system. I used to joke that she could cry on command, but it wasn't a joke. It was a survival manual. When we were little, my birthdays became shared parties, which meant her name went on my cake and I smiled in photos while holding a balloon I bought for myself. If I protested, my parents, Linda and Victor, would murmur that I was older, that I understood, that I should make room. I made room for 26 years. Then we picked that chapel, paid the deposit, and marked a date 13 months. Out. I'd never wanted anything as much as I wanted to walk between those red rocks with Mark's hand in mine. Every time work got loud, I'd open the venue's website and look at the weathered stone and the string lights and remember why saving matters. A week before all of this exploded, my parents hosted a family brunch at the Desert Botanical Garden in Phoenix. The kind with plastic cups of lemonade, folding chairs, and a breeze that softened everyone's elbows. Halfway through, Harper tapped her glass with a fork, smiled like she'd practiced the smile, and announced she was pregnant. We clapped. We hugged. My grandmother Ruth cried into a napkin, and then Harper turned to me in front of everyone and said, "Zoe, I know this is a lot to ask, but I've always loved your venue. Will you let me use it?" The wind actually stopped. I heard the buzz of a bee like a siren. I said, as gently as human language allows, "No." I said it once. Calm. She blinked as if I'd mispronounced yes. I added, "We've waited 3 years. I can't give it away." She looked at our parents, and the chorus started. My mom, "Honey, you could wait a few more months. You've waited this long." My dad, "It's just a building. What matters is the person you marry." Harper, eyes shimmering on cue, "I thought you loved me." People turned to me like I just kicked a puppy. Mark squeezed my knee under the table. "We're not giving up the venue," he said, in a voice that made the lemonade stand very interested in lemonade. Harper stood up, hands shaking for the audience, and stormed off to the parking lot, one arm across her belly like she was shielding a crown jewel. Not 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Dad, hope you're happy. Your sister hasn't stopped crying. I wish I could tell you that's the worst text that day." On the drive home, my mother decided to widen the field. She called Mark's parents, Elaine and Greg, and explained that a loving family would give the venue to the one who needs it most. Greg, who has the patience of a saint unless you back him into a corner, said, "With respect, Linda, no." And then, in more colorful terms than I'll repeat, told her to stop gambling with her relationship with her eldest daughter. My mom called me afterward crying to say my future father-in-law was a monster. I said, "Mom, he's defending me." And she said, "From what? From being generous?" We went home. We ate silence. Then Harper called, sobbing that I always get what I want, that she never asks for anything, that I was ruining her life. 30 minutes later, Tyler, her fiancé, called me to apologize. He said he didn't know she was going to ambush me in public, that he'd told her it was out of line, that he'd talked to her. His voice sounded tired, like a man who'd been negotiating with a hurricane. For a day, nothing. Then an email landed from our venue coordinator. The subject line, contract update request. The body. "Hi, Zoe. Your mother reached out to transfer. You're booking to Harper's name. We need you to come in person with ID to authorize any changes. Please confirm whether this request is legitimate." I read it 3 times before my eyes understood the words. I called the coordinator, Janelle, who confirmed she'd received a voicemail from my mom saying I was happy to give the date to my sister. Janelle hadn't touched the file. Because of their policy, no changes without the original signers present. I thanked her like she'd just pulled me off a freeway. Then I called every vendor, caterer, florist, DJ, photographer, and put a note on our accounts. Do not modify anything unless Zoe and Mark are present. No one else has permission. If someone tries, call us and write down the time. Janelle offered to add security to the day of, just in case. I laughed because the alternative was something I didn't have the energy to feel. "Let's do it," I said. She gave us a reduced rate and a sympathetic, "This isn't my first rodeo." Sigh, you'd think that would cool things down. It didn't. Harper moved her campaign online. A post on her Instagram story. "Some people don't understand family." A Facebook status with 7 cryptic sentences about selfish brides. DMs arrived from her friends like tiny wasps. "Be a sister. You know she's pregnant, right? Imagine being this heartless." I blocked them all. 2 mornings later, I found dried egg running down the side of my car and a paper towel with glitter stuck to it. My neighbor Sharon, a retired school librarian with binoculars and time, saw Harper's best friend giggling by my driveway at midnight. The police took a report. I didn't want to press charges. I just wanted the world to stop spinning long enough to sleep. My parents asked to meet in person to talk like adults. We agreed, with Mark on the couch beside me and his phone recording audio for notes. My mom walked in with puffy eyes that bought her exactly 10 minutes of my sympathy before she spent it. My dad started with a question that wasn't a question. Why did you cancel the catering we offered to pay for? Mark answered, so you can't use it against us. Dad clutched his pearls. We would never. I said, better safe than sorry, and Mom put a hand to her throat like my sentence was a necklace too tight. Then we argued about the venue again. Dad pulled out his sermon about love being more important than place. I finally said the thing I'd been holding like a live wire. If it doesn't matter where you get married, why can't Harper pick anywhere else? Silence. Red faces. Tears at the edges. My mother whispered, why do you hate us? It was so quiet I almost missed it. I said, I don't, but I'm done being second. Dad launched into family and sacrifice and how a loving family does what it takes to make each other happy. I said, like when Harper wore white to my college graduation and told guests it was her party? Like when she blew out my candles because I was taking too long? Like when you made me split my birthday money with her because she didn't get any that day? I pulled out a list I'd written on my phone. Dates, details, examples it took 5 minutes to read. By the end, they looked like people who had finally found the mirror in a badly lit bathroom. They wanted to argue. I didn't. I said, we're at a fork. Either you book a session with a family therapist and apologize to me, or you don't. Come to my wedding. They left without choosing. The next morning, my dad texted, your sister is depressed and you're proud. Hope that helps you sleep. I changed my number. Harper escalated. Her best friend posted a TikTok of herself crying in a car, tagging me, telling people I'd stolen a newborn's future. I didn't know newborns were so particular about chapels, but okay. I deleted my Facebook and privatized my Instagram. Mark's family became my oxygen. His mother brought soup. His dad brought jokes. We decided that when stress knocks, you feed it carbs. Then there was quiet, just enough to make me hope, and then there wasn't. Wedding week arrived with a strange mixture of peace and adrenaline. My maid of honor, Jules, packed a kit so thorough, it could have delivered a baby, stitched a dress, and repointed a roof. My brother Evan flew in from Portland. We checked in with Janelle at the chapel. Security walked the grounds and showed us where they'd be stationed. We're probably overreacting, I said, and Janelle smiled like a woman who has seen a cake fight. You'd be surprised. The morning of our wedding was exactly what I'd asked the universe for. Soft sun, a breeze that smelled like warm stone. Mark sending me a picture of his tie and a caption that said, you sure? Like we hadn't been sure since the day we met. We did first look photos with my friends under the iron archway by the rosemary bushes. I was mid-laugh when I heard tires on gravel and felt the air change. Harper's car. Jules moved so fast she blurred. Security came up the path at a calm jog, palms open. Harper stepped out with a face already wet. Zoe, she shouted, I just want to talk. She started walking toward me, heels biting the dirt, one hand on her stomach like she was asking it for backup. I'm your sister. She reached into a tote bag. In the same second, I saw a fistful of pink powder, the chalky kind people throw at color runs, and a trajectory aimed exactly at my dress. Jules hit her with a clean sideways block like she'd been training for this all her life. Harper stumbled, heel, dirt, gravity, and sat down hard in the flower bed. A security guard stepped between us. Another gently took Harper's arm and guided her back toward the car. She was screaming by then, words like knives thrown at a bay. Wall. I stood very still and watched the powder lift in a small, embarrassed cloud and drift away. They asked if I wanted to file a police report. I said I wanted to get married. The ceremony was perfect because it was simple. Mark's hands, Evan walking me down the aisle because our parents chose not to. The sound of our friends sniffing like everyone had allergies at once. We read vows we wrote at our kitchen table. We said, I will, the way you say a name you want to keep forever. At the reception, Mark and his groomsmen did a choreographed dance to Taylor Swift that made my stomach hurt from laughing. Jules cried in a way that made everyone cry. We ate the cake my friend Liv baked from scratch. We danced until the lights looked like stars. It was the kind of night you spend years building and seconds living. I could have bottled it. We didn't invite my parents. That sentence looks both smaller and larger than it felt. I missed my mother's hands fixing my hair. I missed my father's terrible jokes. But I didn't miss their rules. I didn't miss being told that being generous means giving away the thing you love most so someone else can love you less. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order, not to punish Harper, to protect the boundary she refuses to see. I included screenshots, the venue email, a photo of the pink powder on the ground. The judge granted a temporary order that keeps her away from me and the chapel grounds for a year. I cried in the car, not because I like paperwork, but because a stranger looked at the mess and said, you deserve to feel safe. We went on our honeymoon to Kauai, where we did exactly nothing for long enough to remember that rest is a verb. When we came back, I opened my inbox to 3 emails from family members I hadn't heard from in months. 2 asking for my side, now that the gossip had curdled, And one, my grandmother Ruth, asking if I was okay and sneaking in a recipe for lemon bars because recipes are how she says I love you without lighting the house on fire. Then I did something that surprised even me. I started applying for jobs in Denver. I love Phoenix, but the last year had turned every grocery aisle into a memory. I wanted fresh aisles. A university offered me a position, and Mark's work said he could transfer. We said yes to a small rental with light that made even a pile of shoes look poetic. We bought a second-hand dining table that came with scratches from somebody else's fights. We decided to make better ones. Somewhere in the packing and the paperwork, life did the thing it does when you're almost busy. Enough not to notice, I realized I was late. I took a test in our almost empty bathroom, sat on the edge of the tub, and watched a second line appear like it had been there all along. I don't cry from surprise often. I cried. Mark cried when I told him. We laughed in the kind of stunned way you laugh when a word you've been afraid to say, pregnant, sits down in your home and asks what you're making for dinner. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't want them to treat my news like currency. Instead, I told Evan, who told Grandma Ruth, who told her lemon bars to behave in the oven for once. Word travels in a small town even when you don't send it. Within a week, I got a message from an old neighbor that my sister had moved back in with our parents, that Tyler had ended their engagement, that no one at her last 3 jobs could make her stay for more than 2 weeks, that my mother looked tired in a way naps don't fix. Do I feel vindicated? Some days. Some days I feel like I'm holding a mirror I spent a decade scraping clean and pointing it at people who refuse to open their eyes. Other days I feel like a kid who wanted a normal family and got a lesson instead. Most days I feel quietly happy. I wake up in a place where love means something other than giving away my chair at the table and sitting on the floor. Mark kisses my forehead before he ties his shoes. I make us eggs that always taste too salty, and he pretends that's exactly how he likes them. We pick out names that we don't tell anyone because keeping things safe sometimes looks like keeping them secret. A week after the move, my mom texted from a number I didn't recognize. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. I wrote yes with a therapist, and I didn't send it. Then I did. She hasn't replied yet. I don't know if she will. If she does, we'll sit in a room with a stranger and build a bridge out of sentences, or we won't. Either way, I'm not the one who has to carry us all anymore. Here's what I know now that I didn't know at the brunch with the lemonade. Generosity without boundaries is self-erasure. Family cannot be a word you use to pry open someone else's life. Love is a choice you make on purpose, not a debt you collect. Harper still posts online. I don't see it. People tell me. She says I ruined her engagement. She says I tried to dox her. She says I took what was hers. The only thing I took was my wedding back from a story that didn't belong to me. If that's theft, call me a thief. I married my best friend under an Arizona sky that glowed like it had secrets. I danced until my feet forgot they were feet. I wrote a new rule. I am allowed to choose joy even if someone I love chooses chaos. You can hate me for not giving my sister a venue. You can say I should have waited a few months like my parents wanted. But listen to the part where she tried to steal it with a phone call and a fake smile. Listen to the part where she showed up with powder and a plan. Listen to the part where a chapel security guard had to stand between sisters in matching cheekbones, so one didn't ruin the other's wedding dress. Then tell me the moral of your story. I know the moral of mine. I will send my grandmother a picture of the first snow on our Denver stoop. I will send Janelle at the chapel a thank you note with too many exclamation marks. I will send Mark a text when he's at the store that says, get the good strawberries, and he will buy the underripe ones by mistake, and I will kiss him anyway. I will keep what is mine, and share what I can, and stop offering pieces of myself as proof that I'm good. And if you need a final image, here's one. The red rocks behind that chapel at golden hour look like they're lit from the inside. You can't tell where the light ends and the stone begins. That's what it felt like. Finally standing there in my own life, lit from the inside, unborrowed, unbegged for, unafraid.